essentially we received on August 9th an application to rezone the parcel at the corner of Dugan Road and US 36 East. The parcel is identified as K4825 1103 490050. It's 11.5399 acres, and it's at the northwest corner of that intersection. When the Urbana Commons Planned Unit Development, or PUD, was originally laid out back in 2005, 2006, somewhere in that range, Subarea E was designated to be a residential parcel. It really wasn't defined at that time as to what that meant other than a residential use. So it basically, the way it was worded was, upon a development proposal, there'll be text developed as to how it would develop residentially. This particular proposal that we received to rezone on August 9th, essentially, you have two ordinances that council had a first reading on last meeting and will have a second reading on tonight. One is to update the zoning map, and the other one is to adopt zoning text for this particular parcel of land. That being said, we received the application August 9th again from Urbana MOB LLC, which is affiliated with HPEX Solutions out of Lewis Center, Ohio. They're a medical developer that works with hospitals for projects that a hospital might desire to want to develop. In this case, they are working with Memorial Health, which is the hospital system in Marysville, who currently owns the family physician's practice here in Urbana. So they will be expanding their existing Urbana operations onto this site in a new building. With that being said, again, we received the application. Planning Commission acted on the application for rezoning at their August 22nd meeting. Prior to that meeting, we provided public notification of the pending rezoning to neighboring property owners, as well as notification in the paper. We also did that prior to tonight's meeting. Same mailing list, slightly modified ad was in the paper again. So we've met the requirements as far as the ordinance goes when we have a rezoning, as far as public notification, including having this public hearing tonight. So going forward, this property has been designated by Planning Commission to change from a residential use to a medical or office campus use. So basically the zoning map will get updated accordingly. We actually won't update the main zoning map. If you look at the main zoning map, it just shows PUDs, period. It doesn't show sub-areas of PUDs. But any future documentation related to that particular PUD will reflect that sub-area E is no longer residential, pending council action, would no longer be residential and would become medical or office campus. So zoning, the map updates one part. Second part is developing a text, a zoning text that goes along with sub-area E. So instead of that property following the city's basic zoning code, it has its own specific text as far as how it would develop. And that was also approved by Planning Commission on August 22nd. Went through about three iterations of that with the developer, which is the way the PUD process is set up, is to work with the developer to find a text that is acceptable, that will work for the development of the site. So going forward, the permitted uses in that location are offices and personal services, which are defined in our zoning chapter and also are currently allowed within our B2 general business district. However, the following principal uses would not be permitted. Again, not permitted: commercial recreation, retail business, drinking and eating establishments, restaurants, automotive filling stations, and hotel or motel. So those uses would not be allowed. But they would have the ability for professional office and personal services. In addition, following uses shall be permitted: hospitals and clinics, healthcare facilities including ambulatory care, inpatient and outpatient surgery, medical offices and ancillary services, ancillary commercial and restaurant uses in support of hospital or other medical uses, daycare, health club, fitness center, and physical therapy uses, skilled nursing facility, assisted living facility, convalescent care facility, hospice, freestanding emergency department, helipad, parking garage, parking structure, and energy plant to service any hospital or clinics. It's very broad. It's very gives a lot of flexibility in the medical world as far as what could potentially be developed in the future on that acreage. The initial proposal is to build beyond that, it's your standard accessory uses, parking, refuse facilities, things like that. And then we've defined all of your setbacks as far as pavement setbacks, building setbacks, landscaping setbacks, those type of things. Maximum lot coverage could not exceed 40 feet. I'm just going to hit the high levels of the actual text itself here real quick. Could not have a lot smaller than an acre with not less than 150 feet of frontage. Building height would be limited to 50 feet. We talked about site access and circulation. This is the first building, would have two curb cuts, one on North Dugan Road and one on US 36 East, both at least 200 feet away from the intersection. And we do have a traffic study underway that we're working with the developer on as far as how this site may or may not impact that intersection with Dugan and 36. Some sidewalks, parking, landscaping, architecture is defined as far as building materials. Worked quite a bit on the signage section, looking at what their needs were for this first building and future buildings. Lighting, essentially lighting needs to be down lighting and not bleed off the site essentially. And then there's a section on loading, service, and storage areas like your dumpsters and those type of things. So essentially, council will have a second reading tonight on the two ordinances. Again, one to update the zoning map. The second one is to start the process to approve the zoning text that I was just referring to. So without that being said, I guess that's at a high level what we're looking at as far as the rezoning, and even getting a little bit into what the first development proposal was intended to be. So.
Okay. I guess, Adam, you want to say anything?
I think Doug covered it all.
Okay. Anybody else in the public like to speak on this? That means all you guys over here and ladies over here. Council, questions? Mr. Fields?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Hoffman?
Nothing in the public hearing.
Okay. Mr. Paul?
Looks pretty comprehensive, makes a lot of sense. We're not to the point, or are we to the point of, because planning commission has blessed this.
The planning commission has blessed the rezoning and the zoning tax.
Okay.
We're still working on a site plan for the first building, which we would anticipate would come to the planning commission probably in October or November.
Okay, great, then, no questions, that makes sense, thanks, Doug.
Back up, Mr. Hoffman?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. You keep referring to the first building. Did I read this right, that there's a 40% structure cap, or is that changing with this rezone? Because it's 11 acres and the first structure is 4 acres.
The building itself is not 4 acres. The development would be 4 acres, including parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Scott?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Tack?
I have no question.
Mr. King?
Not at this time, thank you.
Mr. Piper?
Yes, could you tell me about a TIF and how that would benefit the city?
We have explored tax incentives a little bit here recently. There really are two potential models. One is an enterprise zone agreement, and one is the TIF that you asked about. They're different depending on the economics of them and how they work. A TIF is typically a mechanism for a public entity to recoup investment that they've made in public infrastructure. So
I'll bring that up at a work session.
certainly can.
Thank you.
Okay, no more questions from council. Any comments from the public? Yes, ma'am, come up, podium and name and address, please.
I'm Eleanor McGuire, I live at 424 Lafayette.
Make sure you hear it.
My question this may be a day late and a dollar short, but how is this gonna impact the hospital? We have 200 employees there, and from what you read as far as services that are gonna be provided, I know that that is going to pull away from the hospital. We have 200 employees there. We have a hospital that treats those that are indigent and underserved. That's been their mission. And how is this going to be protected with this type of facility coming in?
says
But
that.
if this goes ahead and is zoned for that, and you proceed with it, it's gonna go up. Is there anything to stop it from proceeding once you've zoned it?
The zoning would essentially allow for medical use as defined, so, I mean, it would define that use being allowable at that site going forward. So, at a real high level. So.
It's a travesty. I think this isn't right. I think the hospital's been here since the early fifties. They're vested, they were invited into the community, and I think the community should stand behind them. And I'm really disappointed. I thank you for the time to be able to speak.
We can talk before close. Start.
Go ahead.
We are still